December 7, 1941, 7:55 a.m., Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. 353 Japanese aircraft arrive over the U.S. Pacific Fleet. In the next 110 minutes, 2,403 Americans are killed. 8 battleships are damaged or destroyed. 188 aircraft are demolished on the ground. The United States Pacific Fleet, the most powerful naval force in the Western Hemisphere, is crippled in under 2 hours. President Roosevelt calls it a day that will live in infamy. History calls it a surprise attack. It was not a surprise. In the 11 months before December 7, 1941, 3 separate decisions, made by 3 separate Americans, could have changed everything. Decision 1. A Navy captain ignores an intelligence report from the American ambassador in Tokyo that explicitly warns of a Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. He files it. He does not act on it. Decision 2. At 6:53 a.m. on December 7th, 62 minutes before the attack, USS Ward attacks and sinks a Japanese midget submarine at the mouth of Pearl Harbor. The report reaches Admiral Kimmel's duty officer. No general alarm is issued. Decision 3. At 7:02 a.m., 53 minutes before the attack, an Army radar operator spots 50-plus aircraft bearing down on Oahu. He reports it. His superior tells him, "Don't worry about it." 3 warnings, 3 decisions, 3 failures. 2,403 Americans dead. This is the story of how Pearl Harbor actually happened. To understand the 3 decisions, you need to understand what Washington knew and when they knew it. By the summer of 1941, the United States and Japan had been on a collision course for years. Japan had been at war in China since 1937. By 1940, Japanese forces occupied French Indochina. In response, the United States imposed a series of escalating economic sanctions. In July 1941, Washington froze all Japanese assets in the United States and cut off oil exports to Japan entirely. Japan imported 80% of its oil from the United States. The embargo gave Japan an 18-month supply. After that, its military machine, its navy, its army, its air force, stops. Japan's military leadership faced a stark choice: withdraw from China, accept American terms, and abandon a decade of conquest, or go to war with the United States before the oil ran out. They chose war. In Washington, American cryptanalysts had broken Japan's diplomatic code, codenamed Purple, in August 1940. They could read Japanese diplomatic cables in near real time. By late November 1941, those cables made one thing clear: diplomatic negotiations were ending. War was coming. On November 27, 1941, the U.S. Navy issued a war warning to all Pacific commanders. The message read, "This dispatch is to be considered a war warning. Negotiations with Japan have ceased." Admiral Husband Kimmel, commanding the Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, received it. He remained at anchor. The assumption, shared by Kimmel, by Army Commander General Walter Short, by Washington, was that if Japan attacked, it would attack the Philippines, or Malaya, or the Dutch East Indies. Pearl Harbor, 4,000 miles from Japan, heavily defended, was considered an unlikely target. That assumption was wrong, and 3 men, on 3 separate occasions, had information that should have shattered it. January 27, 1941, 10 months before Pearl Harbor. Joseph Grew, the United States ambassador to Japan, sends an urgent cable to the State Department in Washington. Grew had spent a decade in Tokyo. He knew the culture. He understood the military. And he had a source, the Peruvian minister to Japan, who had picked up something remarkable from Japanese contacts. The message was clear. Japan was planning a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, using massed air power if relations with the United States collapsed. Grew wrote, "Japan might make an all-out do-or-die attempt, actually risking national harakiri to make Japan impervious to economic embargoes abroad, rather than yield to foreign pressure." He added it might come with dangerous and dramatic suddenness. He sent the cable. It reached Washington. The State Department forwarded it to the Office of Naval Intelligence. Captain Richmond Kelly Turner, the head of war plans for the Navy, reviewed it. He concluded that the source was unreliable, the Peruvian minister, whose information ultimately came from a Japanese cook. He assessed the report as rumor. He filed it. He did not forward it to Admiral Kimmel at Pearl Harbor. He did not share it with Army intelligence. He did not investigate it further. The warning disappeared into a filing cabinet. Kelly Turner's logic was not unreasonable. Diplomatic channels generated enormous volumes of intelligence, most of it noise, rumor, and speculation. The source was third-hand at best. In isolation, Gru's warning was easy to dismiss. What Turner could not know was that it was not in isolation. It was the first of 3 warnings. He only had access to one. December 7th, 1941, 3:42 a.m. The USS Condor, a minesweeper patrolling the entrance to Pearl Harbor, spots something in the water. Something small, moving strangely. She signals the destroyer USS Ward. Ward begins searching. She finds nothing. The search is called off. At 6:37 a.m., Ward's lookout spotted again. A small submarine, barely larger than a torpedo, running at periscope depth inside the restricted defensive sea area at the mouth of Pearl Harbor. It is heading toward the harbor entrance net, which has been opened to allow the USS Antares to enter. At 6:45 a.m., Ward opens fire. The first shot misses. The second shot strikes the submarine's conning tower directly. Ward drops depth charges. The midget submarine sinks. At 6:53 a.m., 62 minutes before the attack, Ward's commanding officer, Lieutenant William Outerbridge, transmits to the 14th Naval District Headquarters. "We have attacked, fired upon, and dropped depth charges upon submarine operating in defensive sea area." The duty officer at 14th Naval District receives the message. He is uncertain. Reports of submarine contacts around Pearl Harbor are not uncommon. Most turn out to be false alarms. He calls his superior. His superior decides to wait for verification before waking Admiral Kimmel. At 7:40 a.m., Kimmel is finally informed. The Japanese attack begins at 7:55 a.m. 15 minutes. If Outerbridge's report had been acted on immediately, if a general quarters alert had been issued at 6:53 a.m., the aircraft, the guns, and the men of Pearl Harbor would have had 62 minutes to prepare. Anti-aircraft crews would have been at their stations. Fighters would have been getting airborne. Battleship crews would have been at battle stations. The attack would still have come. But 2,403 deaths might have become hundreds, or dozens. Instead, the duty officer waited. He waited because attacking and sinking a submarine, if it turned out to be an error, would be a serious diplomatic incident with Japan. He was correct to be cautious. He was wrong to wait. December 7th, 1941, 7:02 a.m. Opana radar station, northern tip of Oahu. Private Joseph Lockard and Private George Elliott are operating one of 6 mobile radar units the Army has recently deployed around Oahu. The units are new. Radar itself is new. The operators have been on duty since 4 a.m., running practice tracks. Their official operating period ends at 7 a.m. They are about to shut down when Elliott decides to keep the set running to give Lockard more practice time. At 7:02 a.m., the largest radar return either of them has ever seen appears on the scope. The blip is enormous. More than 50 aircraft, bearing 3 degrees, distance 132 miles, due north, inbound. Lockard is stunned. He checks the equipment for malfunction. The equipment is fine. At 7:20 a.m., they reach the information center at Fort Shafter. The regular controller has gone to breakfast. The only officer on duty is Lieutenant Kermit Tyler, an Air Corps officer present for his second day of training, not yet qualified as a controller. Lockard reports the contact. Tyler listens. He recalls 2 things. First, a flight of 12 B-17 bombers from the U.S. mainland is due to arrive at Oahu that morning. Second, a Hawaiian radio station has been playing music all night. He vaguely recalls that this was sometimes used as a homing signal for incoming American aircraft. Tyler tells Lockhart, "Don't worry about it." He does not investigate. He does not report upward. He does not consider that 50-plus aircraft, 12 times more than the incoming B-17 flight, might not be American. At 7:39 a.m., Lockhart and Elliott lose the contact in the radar's ground clutter as the aircraft approach Oahu. At 7:55 a.m., the bombs begin falling. Tyler's logic, like Turner's and the duty officers before him, was not irrational in isolation. A B-17 flight was expected. The radar was new and unproven. The contact was unlike anything he had seen before, which made him more likely, not less, to find an innocent explanation. But the system had failed at every level before it reached Tyler. No one had connected Gru's warning from January. No one had acted on Ward's submarine sinking at 6:53. By the time the largest radar contact in Oahu's history appeared on the scope at 7:02 a.m., 3 independent warning systems had activated, and 3 independent human decisions had silenced each one. At 7:49 a.m., Commander Mitsuo Fuchida, leading the Japanese strike force, transmits the signal. 222, attack. At 7:53 a.m., seeing the Pacific Fleet anchored and undefended below him, he transmits a second signal. Tora, 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 Tiger, 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 the code word for complete surprise achieved. The first wave strikes at 7:55 a.m. 183 aircraft. Torpedo bombers target the battleships along Battleship Row. High-level bombers target the airfields at Wheeler, Hickam, and Kaneohe. Fighters strafe aircraft on the ground. The torpedo bombers had modified their weapons specifically for Pearl Harbor's shallow 40-foot depth. American intelligence had assumed Pearl Harbor was too shallow for aerial torpedo attack. The Japanese had spent months solving that problem. They solved it. USS Arizona takes a bomb strike to her forward ammunition magazine. The explosion is so violent that she sinks in 9 minutes, taking 1,177 men with her. USS Oklahoma takes 4 torpedo hits in quick succession, rolls over, and sinks at her moorings with 429 men trapped inside. The second wave strikes at 8:55 a.m. 170 aircraft. By 9:55 a.m., it is over. In 110 minutes, Japan has crippled the United States Pacific Fleet. 2,403 Americans killed, 1,178 wounded, 8 battleships damaged or sunk, 3 cruisers damaged, 3 destroyers damaged, 188 aircraft destroyed, 155 damaged. Japan loses 29 aircraft, 5 midget submarines, 64 men. What Japan does not destroy: Pearl Harbor's fuel storage tanks, 4.5 million barrels of oil sitting in open-air tanks above the harbor. Their destruction would have crippled Pacific Fleet operations for months. The Japanese strike commander chooses not to launch a third wave that might have targeted them. What Japan does not destroy: Pearl Harbor's repair facilities, the dry docks, machine shops, and submarine base. Every battleship sunk in shallow water, except Arizona and Oklahoma, is eventually repaired and returned to service. What Japan does not destroy: the aircraft carriers. USS Enterprise, Lexington, and Saratoga are all at sea on December 7th. They survive. 18 months later, carrier aviation, not battleships, wins the Battle of Midway and turns the tide of the Pacific War. Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, commanding the Japanese strike force, decides against a third wave and turns north. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who planned the attack, calls it a great tactical success and a great strategic failure. He is correct on both counts. He has awakened a sleeping giant. The investigations began immediately. 10 separate inquiries into Pearl Harbor were conducted between 1941 and 1946. They produced thousands of pages of testimony, documents, and findings. Admiral Kimmel and General Short were both relieved of command within 2 weeks of the attack. Both were demoted. Neither was court-martialed. The congressional investigation of 1946 produced 22 conclusions. The 10th read, "Had greater imagination and a keener awareness of the significance of intelligence existed, it is proper to suggest that someone should have concluded that Pearl Harbor was a likely point of Japanese attack." Pearl Harbor's most enduring legacy is institutional. Before December 7, 1941, the United States had no permanent peacetime civilian intelligence agency. After Pearl Harbor, that changed permanently. The Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, was established in 1947. Its founding mission explicitly designed to prevent another Pearl Harbor. The number one mission of the CIA, as written in its founding charter, is preventing strategic surprise. 3 warnings. January 27, 1941. Ambassador Gru's cable, filed, not acted on. December 7, 6:53 a.m. USS Ward sinks a Japanese submarine, reported, not acted on. December 7, 7:02 a.m. Opana radar tracks 50-plus inbound aircraft, reported, not acted on. None of the 3 men who made these decisions were cowards. None were incompetent. All of them, in the moment, had rational reasons for the choices they made. The failure was not in the individuals. The failure was in a system that treated each warning in isolation, that had no mechanism for connecting 3 separate signals into one undeniable conclusion. That failure cost 2,403 lives. It also gave the United States intelligence apparatus the wake-up call that reshaped it permanently. Pearl Harbor is the reason the CIA exists. Pearl Harbor is the reason intelligence agencies share information. Pearl Harbor is the reason the United States never again assumed a heavily defended base was safe from surprise attack. It is a lesson written in the lives of 2,403 men.